Oh my gosh, everybody. Wasn't that a heartbreaker? Oh, was so excited. Team was playing really, really well through that whole game, really. I think that's one of the best games we've seen from the Kraken all season long. Obviously, the energy was awesome in that arena. Everything was looking good. They were shooting the puck a lot. Yeah, that was just a brutal way to lose a game. Brutal, brutal. Um, as of course, like I'm the only one here tonight. RJ was at the game, and then we were also fortunate enough to get him a press pass. He was able to do some pregame stuff, some stuff this morning, and then he's going to be able to get in there for the postgame interviews and stuff like that. So it's just going to be me tonight for the postgame live show. We're going to hear all about his game day experience and all that stuff. We record the podcast tomorrow. It'll come out Monday morning, so you guys will, get the layout of everything then. Really excited to hear from him. The arena looked spectacular. I think everything, seemed great. Just unfortunate result at the end there. Brutal way to start, this home stretch, especially after those last couple games. Thought they looked so good coming out, but it's just what happens. And unfortunately, we got to lose to Vancouver like that. But I guess it helps start the rivalry. That's all good. Yeah, everybody looks like, yeah, it has been their best game. I think I would agree, like, their a lot of their early shifts, things were maybe a little passive again. I was starting to see some of that same stuff, especially in their own zone. But then as that first period went on, they really turned it around. They were pressuring guys. They were pressuring the Canucks offense. Nobody had it easy. The Canucks may have had some prolonged possessions, but they weren't really able to get good shots off, and they weren't really able to set up anything coming off the passing game because the Kraken were really all over them. And so that was good to see. Yeah, that was just a little rough there. Um, Otherwise, I mean, they were doing better, some more east-west passing stuff in the offensive zone. There were times where they did a little too much, I thought. Um, yeah, I don't know. There was that one where Eberle, I thought, had a really good clean shot in the first period, and he made that pass, and then Gord did it a little while later, and it was just like, man, you know. Transition game was a lot better. They obviously wanted to play with speed. They wanted to put some pressure on. They weren't always just passing at the blue line, although towards the end of the game there, they started that again where it was like, hey, Wenberg, it was like, just take it into the zone. Don't pass it laterally entering the zone. The two-line passing rule went away 30 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to be doing that. But that was rough. I thought with the first goal, maybe it was just, Grubauer, something I've been talking about since the preseason. Grubauer might be one of those goalies where he needs some, kind of regular action just to keep things going, keep himself fresh and in there. He went 17 minutes without facing a shot, which is great for the Kraken, but, maybe that contributed to that one sneaking in 5-hole. The other thing I thought was, Giordano kind of dives in front of it, and I thought that might have hindered Grubauer's ability to see the release of the puck, and it messed up his timing a little bit. Tough to say, not really a good angle to totally see that, but I thought that might be a little bit of a thing. All right, come over here to chat. Better than the Nashville win. I think overall the game was probably better than that Nashville game. Obviously the result is not what we want, but there was a lot of positive takeaways given how kind of rough things were in that Flyers game and in that Devils game. They're unpracticed and have no real systems in place. They aren't bad. Again, I would agree with that for sure. The systems, it looked like they were working on the transition game during the practices this week. I think that showed up here during the game some. Still some stuff that needs to be ironed out for sure, but I felt like their forechecking was obviously different in this game. Like I said, they were making east-west passes in the offensive zone. That's not something we've seen them do all year. I felt that they did a good job kind of driving the net and getting some opportunities that way. Demko came up with some pretty big saves. We've been unfortunate. It seems like we keep running into that problem. But that continued tonight. Averaging 2 goals a game is not going to win you a lot of hockey games these days. Agreed. Kind of playing off what I was just saying, we've run into some goalies that have stepped up big. The one thing though is one of their problems was they weren't really shooting before, and I felt like that was kind of fixed tonight. Obviously, they won the shots on goal battle, and it felt like they were a lot more willing to shoot the puck than they have been in games past. That's a positive development that hopefully can continue for them. Tough third period play, late mistakes. Thatcher Demko was superb. Yep, Demko was great. The Carson Soucy penalty was rough. That's one of those that, it was fairly ticky-tacky. Unfortunately, tripping isn't always like a subjective thing where the ref can kind of let it slide. Like, his stick caused the guy's skate to go out and caused him to fall down. Like, there's not much wiggle room for the ref there. It was still light as far as a tripping call goes, but it's just the way things go for them. Those face-offs were murder. Yeah, I've got to figure out the face-off thing. I don't know. That's another issue. I don't know that there's much we can. I don't know. I've never played forward, so I don't know like all the intricacies of a face-off thing. That'll be a question I can ask RJ tomorrow when we record the podcast. Some stuff there. Maybe there's some, I don't know, specific drills or things to work on that the Kraken could be doing. But I still think, most of their practice time has got to be spent on the larger systems at play rather than maybe something like face-offs. Although if they're as bad as they were tonight, that does become a larger problem that needs attention. Not a bad team. Definitely a team that has trouble playing 60 minutes. Yeah. I thought they did a better job of that tonight. I felt like all 3 periods were pretty, even as far as their energy level, their ability to sustain pressures. We haven't seen really, I know a lot of things went wrong in that third period that, ultimately resulted in them losing, but I also feel like that third period was one of the better third periods we've seen them play all season. So, they had some prolonged pressures in the offensive zone. Things just didn't really fall their way. So that was encouraging. Grubauer should have saved the last goal. Yeah, I mean, you could certainly argue that it was kind of a breakaway situation, so you want the goalie to get it. It also wasn't like he was, doing anything fancy, deking, anything like that. I thought maybe Jamie Alexiak could have dove there with his stick out to poke check it away. I think it's worth risking maybe a tripping penalty or something like that. Obviously, with the end result, it would have definitely been worth doing that. That's something I've been kind of saying with him. Zdeno Chara became a Hall of Famer using his reach and his long stick and doing stuff like that. I want to see Alexiak kind of add more of that to his game and utilize that size advantage that he has beyond just being physical. I think his poke check and stuff is a big deal, and that's a big thing that the Kraken could be taking advantage of that he isn't really right now. So in desperation mode, could he have dove and maybe that makes a difference? He could poke that away or at least hinder Garland's release, maybe. But it's a what if. We were primed to win this game and they threw it away. I don't know that they totally threw it away. Like on that last goal before the empty netter, it was a bad bounce. Got past Dunn. Like it's not totally something you can do. They had that kind of rough turnover. I don't know if the boards contributed to that on that second Horvat goal. But the defense was a little wonky there too. Both Larson and Lauzon were rough on that. Lauzon, before the turnover, was way out of position, and then he finally comes back over center. Larson then leaves. Lauzon is centered, but he doesn't play Horvat there. He doesn't play the man. He just kind of centered himself right in front of Grubauer. Would like to see him play the man there and not let Horvat just have that free whack at it into essentially an empty net. But yeah, still adjusting to current lines. Yeah, again, right. Every single game, we've got different lines out there. We've got different defensive pairings. At some point, we're going to need consistency to build chemistry. That said, I thought Yarncroke played a really good game with his first action of the season. I liked what he was doing offensively, forechecking. I think he plays really solid defense. I think that helps out this group a lot, what he can do. He was contributing to the transition game, even though he's not necessarily the fastest guy out there. I thought did a good job that. I thought he was, again, one of those guys making those east-west passes, trying to get stuff going in the offensive zone. So happy to see him. It's rough not seeing Ryan Donato just because I feel like he's been such a, even though he, isn't necessarily always ending up on the scoring sheet, he's been doing a lot offensively for this team. He's had a lot of close calls, just some bad luck type things, but he's been there trying to create offensive opportunities. So I'd love to see him in the lineup. Bastian played a pretty good game, but I got to think that, if we could sneak Donato into that spot, things, maybe you're different in late game situations. Certainly you could use him on the power play. He'd been playing pretty well up there. I disagree. Their passing sucks and can't get out of their own zone. Yeah, so the defense, the breakout passes and stuff, it was better this game. Still not quite where you want it to be. Some of the passes in the offensive zone were off mark for sure. I will give you that, but I'm just excited to see them trying something different offensively rather than they're, just send it back to the point, or let's just try to cycle it around behind the net and, maybe eventually one of us shoots the puck or something. I thought that, the amount of kind of lateral passing that they were doing in the offensive zone is a positive. Give it a little more time, give the lines time, maybe, with the additional chemistry and stuff that improves. They've been playing hockey their entire lives. There's not some mystical hockey system that will make third and fourth liners suddenly become hockey gods. To an extent, that is definitely true, right? Like, these are guys that were, for the most part, were exposed from their teams, meaning they weren't like the stars of their teams. Some guys, signed in free agency where that wasn't the case. But I still think that that's okay because, it's a team largely made up of second and third liners, which means, yes, you're kind of seeding that first line matchup, but the rest of the time you're either on par or you're actually better. Like any of these lines is certainly better than any other fourth line in this league. And I would say including Vegas at this point, just because Vegas has shifted around a lot post-expansion. So they should be able to drive possession like they did tonight more frequently. That was kind of what was disappointing in those last couple games, especially because, the bottom line is, while they may not have a superstar out there that can just kind of create offense at will, they're deep. They have enough guys out there that, they should be able to take advantage of some, mismatches, which is easier now that they're playing at home, right? Home team always gets, second change essentially during stoppages. So the away team puts out a line and then the home team can match up against that line with whoever they want. So if the away team puts out, the Pettersson line tonight, right? Vancouver, Hackstall can put out his best defensive line if that's what he chooses to do. So playing on the road a lot, they weren't, in a position where they could really take advantage of line matching. But they should be able to now during this homestand. At least we played 50 minutes instead of 40. There you go. See, it was positive. Sick and tired of seeing Chris Drieger watching games in a suit and a tie. Yeah, he is hurt, so it's not like he's just scratched right now, but we do want to see what he's got. Joey DeCords looks pretty good, though, too. It's just, I don't know, there's just every so often these Grubauer games, they just come out and they get you, and how do you make a blind pass behind you towards your goal? Knowing where your teammates are supposed to be is mandatory at all levels, even pro, all that stuff. Yeah, it is hard. Like with the knowing where your teammates are, that's kind of like in that Larson Lauzon situation I was talking about for the second Horvat goal. It's a little hard. Lauzon has pulled himself away from in front of the net to go make a play, and he did pressure the puck carrier, the Vancouver player. Could have done a better job there when he got back. Like they knew when to trade off, right? Larson knew when he could step up because Lauzon was coming back there. It was just Lauzon came back and just kind of stopped in front instead of sliding all the way over and taking Horvat on man-to-man. But like that, as far as that transitional process from one defenseman to another being parked kind of in front of net, that was actually handled pretty smoothly. It just, resulted in a goal, unfortunately. The fan chirping Garland at the bench definitely seemed to fire him up. Oh boy. Yeah, Connor Garland's probably not the best guy to be doing that to. I'd argue most players, it's not great to do that. You never want to give the other team anything that's going to get them going any more than they already are coming into your building, especially in a game that's, essentially it's a rivalry game. Who doesn't want to come in and play spoiler for the home opener of the new team, right? Like there was already a lot of reasons for Vancouver to really want to step up and take out the Kraken here. So you don't necessarily want to give them anything more. It's just like with players, you never want to give the other team bulletin board material, whiteboard material. So that was unfortunate. But that death stare that Connor Garland gave him coming off the ice. Oh my gosh, that was nasty looking. That was nasty. Second time Groovy fell asleep and let us off, Dan. Yeah, and it is hard as a goalie to go 17 minutes with an intermission in between play taking shots. It is really easy to kind of get cold there. During stoppages, you're doing your best to try to stay warm physically. Just keep yourself loose and limber, ready to go. That's exceptional circumstances to a large extent to almost go a full period's worth of play without taking a shot. Still think you got to have that shot though. Again, maybe a Giordano's dive messed him up a little bit, but I don't know. Blind passes aren't always the guy making the pass's fault. Sometimes someone is supposed to be there and isn't. Passing in front of your own goalie is a big no-no, though. Yes, like we were saying after the Vegas game, the first Vegas game, right? If you're passing to break out of your own zone, you want to be doing it towards the boards, away from your net. Passing in the offensive zone, you want to be doing it towards the goal, right? You want to make that diamond. That's what we taught our squirt players back when me and RJ were coaching. You never want to be just throwing it across like your crease or anything like that. But yes, there are other times where, there was one instance where Tanev came in and he, there was no play for him to make. He couldn't drive the net. The defenseman was right there. So he tried to, cut to the middle, circle around. He threw it behind him, hoping someone had joined the rush there. Unfortunately, everybody who had joined the rush was on his other side, so no one was there for the pass. That stuff just happens. Hockey is, as much as you can instill systems, it's not like football where, you have all those stoppages to reline up and everyone knows exactly what they're doing. There's a large part of it is kind of free flowing. And so, things get a little, different and random out there. Kraken played well, but couldn't get a lucky bounce. Yeah, that's kind of been the story of their season so far. Got to think at some point that'll turn around though. If you're not 1,000% sure the pass is getting through, you don't make it through the middle. That's hockey 101. I'm assuming is what you were going to finish that. Yeah, I see that a little lower. Sometimes, yes. I think there are times where, you can try to do something, try to be creative, try to catch the defense off guard, try to create chaos in front of the other team's net. I would say if you're down low and you've got another guy or two in front of the opposing goalie's net, yes, the odds of you getting it across to their stick specifically is low, but just the fact that you can kind of throw it in there, create that chaos in front of the net, goalie might lose it because he's having to look straight down. The defensemen don't know where the puck is necessarily because they're trying to body up, your forward. And that's how you can kind of create chaos. Usually the goalie in that situation is going to open up their legs a little bit so you can kind of jab at stuff and create something. So there are some instances where I think if you're, you don't have to be 100% sure that the pass is going to make it tape to tape, but it's still worth doing. Grubauer should have saved 2 of the 3. It's, it is what it is. What was the goal song? Tough to tell on the ESPN broadcast. We learned earlier in the day that it was, in fact, Lithium by Nirvana. So, if any of you did make that bet, go collect. Good effort tonight. Felt offense was much better. I agree. The shot totals reflect that. I thought the amount of prolonged pressures they had in the offensive zone was awesome. Think Seattle should just tank. Come on. No, we don't need to tank. It's too early in the season for that. And the Pacific Division, which while some teams like San Jose are surprising to start the year, I still think it's a very small sample size to be going off of for that. Need Bastion to finish those two shots. Yeah, you'd like to have those, but it's hard. There's so many things that go into it beyond just like a player's ability to aim, right? Like the amount of snow on the puck, the amount of snow on their stick, the amount of water that their stick and the tape has put in there. Like it gets crazy. That's why hockey's known as one of the most random sports out there, because you can have a player in a game situation take the same shot multiple times, and a lot of different things can happen. We were ahead and pressuring them for several minutes, then we notch a pass and give it away for a goal. Yeah, it that's hockey, unfortunately. Seattle might be in last place all season. Give it a little bit of time. I think if after this homestand they're sitting on like 2 wins 10 games into the season, that's maybe when we panic a little bit. But I think there was enough to go off of tonight to keep some hope. At least going into this Montreal game, Montreal hasn't exactly been playing well. If Montreal comes in and stomps on them, yeah, okay, it's panic time. Let's regroup. Yeah, on to the next game. We better win against the Canadiens. Exactly. Blackhawks might have something to say about that. Yeah. Any news on Geeky? I didn't see him with Tanev or Donskoy later in the game. I don't currently have anything about Geeky. I am going to look because RJ is starting to text me some stuff from the post-game interviews and stuff. Well, he hasn't started. He's just saying who's coming up. It looks like Vince Dunn's going to start. I don't know any news about Geeky right now. I don't know where he went. I would assume we'll get that information in a little bit, though, through the press conferences. The Blackhawks play hockey like their parents are making them, and they secretly wish they were in band. That's pretty funny and kind of accurate the way they've been playing so far this year. Wouldn't bet that against Montreal. Oh, well, there's RJ in chat. Thanks for holding it down tonight, Dylan. Of course, anytime. Let's see. Decord on Tuesday. I say go for it. I say, let's get him some looks. He's looked like the best goalie, arguably, through the preseason and through, the regular action. I think if you want to do that, go for it. It's always hard managing stuff like that. I don't know, like, Philip Grubauer's mental makeup. I've never met the man. I don't know, is he one of these guys that needs the kind of regular games, or can he have one where things, kind of fall apart at the end there, and then he can sit a game and still come back strong? That's one of those things that you just got to go with. You just got to trust the coach, because they know the player, and I don't. I watched Alexiak in Pittsburgh for a while. Diving to make a play isn't really his thing. He's more of a stand there and be large kind of guy. His primary skill set is occupying space. I agree with that. As a Penguins fan before all this, I remember those days. Yeah, it is. And that's why I was kind of saying the difference between him and Chara is, Chara back in the day before he was like 1,000 years old, he really tried to utilize that stuff and try to make things happen. And in a big game situation, he would try to dive in there, or certainly be a little more active with his stick, or maybe just know that, hey, in a breakaway setting late in the game like that, it's okay to take the penalty, maybe, like if you think that the guy's got a good shot to score. Here's RJ in chat. Just heard from Vince Dunn. We're trying to do the right things, but maybe sometimes you're trying to do a little bit too much at times. That's from Vince Dunn. I would agree with that statement. Yeah. What do we think of Cali tonight? I think I covered that a little bit earlier. I thought he was really good. He excels kind of away from the puck. He's not going to necessarily make a bunch of flashy plays happen right off the bat, but I thought he was pretty good. I thought he, helped contribute to the change in offensively, as far as, again, the East-West passing game, and just some of those prolonged pressures with his forecheck, and he plays solid defense, so it was nice to have him for the PK. Yeah, Callie had some good moments, I thought. Didn't notice him too much. Yeah, it's, the away from the puck guys, it's always harder to watch. You have to kind of zero in on them and watch them, but then, you miss the action in general. What happened to Donato? Just scratch. Calle Yarncroke came back, and they just decided to take him out. Uh, Not gonna lie, Jen's too drunk to be upset at the moment. Check back in tomorrow. Yeah, I could feel that. I could definitely feel that. Um, Everybody's saying hi. I love the fact that we have this community. Everybody knows each other. That's really awesome. It brings a lot of joy to my heart, guys. The Kraken are a team full of complementary players without anyone to complement. There's definitely some truth to that. Again, that's just the nature of an expansion team. But at the same time, sometimes guys step up. You know what I mean? And we saw that in Vegas with William Karlsson stepped up, become a 40 goal scorer out of nowhere. Hasn't really done that since, but he stepped up that one year. It's possible someone does that here. Uh, yeah, asking RJ about the in-arena experience. Um, Red glare catching on, RJ. Red glare didn't really happen in the anthem, according to RJ. Well, that's unfortunate. I was hoping for that. I did kind of think about it, though, listening to the anthem. Um, it's in kind of an awkward spot for the crowd to do it, right? Like, because it's kind of in the middle of the verse rather than like hanging on an end right before a break. So maybe that'll affect things. But I still think that's one of those things. If we just kind of get things out there, hopefully things will be better. Grubauer now, this is from RJ. Everyone was doing the right thing compared to the last game or game before. Not the outcome we wanted, but we have to eliminate individual mistakes and we'll be good to go. Yeah, just a couple bad bounces, a couple bad passes, and unfortunately, at the professional level, that can be the difference. Kraken MVP of the game. Um, oh my gosh, why am I spacing? I thought Vince Dunn played a really good game. Obviously, he had that early goal. I thought he, was in there offensively. Yes, I know he was a contributing factor to that last goal, but I really do think that was just it bounced over his stick. I didn't see like a close-in replay of that, but I really thought that was the case there. And then you have Connor Garland going one way. His momentum was taking him another. There was no way he was ever going to be able to catch him going back. So I thought Vince Dunn played a good game. I thought Gord played an interesting game. He was good at times, and other times I thought he made some interesting decisions while he was trying to be creative. But having him mic'd up on that ESPN broadcast was a lot of fun, and we do see the kind of heart and soul aspects that he brings to this team that I do think are important, and I do think having him back, over the long run is going to be really beneficial for them. Grubauer says he loves the Gru chant, so I'll keep that up when we go to games. Brian, my thoughts about tonight's crowd was that it was probably jam-packed with corporate suits and high rollers, not rabid hockey fans. Red glare will have its day. Yeah, I mean, they talked about that in the broadcast. Average ticket price was $601, which is wild. You like that there's that passion and enthusiasm for the Kraken, but, I do come from Southern California where, we are used to that at things like Staples Center where, you'll get like the whole lower bowl can be bought out sometimes for big games by corporations, and then they're just giving out, vendors type stuff, and you don't always have the most passionate people there sometimes. So I do understand that. That being said, it looked like everyone was wearing Kraken gear at the very least, and so I don't want to be too down on the crowd because I did think that they were there. They were excited at times, jumping up out of their seats on the close stuff, all that stuff that you want to see. It felt like the energy was really, really good there up until the last bit. Maybe we should shoot at Gru to keep him loose in those stretches. Probably not, but I mean, anything going. Certainly, you can maybe try to do something in between during stoppages or something. TV timeouts maybe, if that is the case. Again, I'm just speculating. It just seems like that's kind of the case. He tends to let in those soft ones whenever he's had some time by himself back there. Definitely look like an expansion team so far. Yeah, again, Vegas set the expectations probably very, very unreasonably high for Seattle. So, this is a little more of what we're used to from an expansion team. That being said, I do think, we all know that they should be playing better than they have been. Appleton has some plays tonight, crashed the net. Yes, this was definitely Appleton's best game. Definitely liked seeing. This was the Mason Appleton that, me and RJ been talking about, that we were hoping we were going to get from the Winnipeg Jets. Liked him, liked his speed. Now that they're trying to focus on that transition game and utilize speed, he's coming in handy. Why crowd was booing Grew. Yeah, it definitely could sound like boo through the TV for sure. Alexander True is the leading goal scorer in Charlotte and has 4 goals and 7 points in 4 games with 3 assists. Yeah, True's been awesome down in Charlotte. There's just not really a center spot for him up in the lineup now that Gord came back so early. So that was unfortunate, but it is good to know that we have that depth down there to be called on when we need it. You told me Susi was good. I thought Susi actually played a good game tonight. There was an issue with obviously that penalty late wasn't great. Like I said, it's not totally a subjective thing that's on the ref that the ref can kind of ignore. He directly caused the guy to fall with his stick. That is just textbook tripping, unfortunately. He had a couple other rough spots. He didn't look as good moving the puck out of the zone tonight as he has in games past. Could just be a one-off night thing. The other thing was they had just reshuffled all the D pairings around again. So everybody's got to get used to playing with somebody new all over again. At some point, that's got to stop, and I would assume that it will. We just got to be patient, I think. Giordano calls, this is from RJ, Giordano calls tonight a step in the right direction. Quote, if we play that sort of game, we'll be all right more nights than not. 100% agree with that. I think this was just kind of a bad night kind of thing. Let's see. If you need proof hockey is random, just remember one time Jonathan Chichu scored 50 goals somehow. Yeah, exactly. Train, Chichu train was a 50-goal scorer in this league. There were some rules that were different back then that might have helped contributed to that, but that is definitely one of those things that is out there. Thank you for bringing that up, Dustin. And then and below, and that Chris Kunitz has as many cups as Wayne Gretzky. Chris Kunitz, the aquatic bird god, right? Going from the Ducks to the Penguins, playing for those aquatic bird teams, winning cups everywhere he goes. Giordano also said atmosphere was electric all night, says it stings to lose a game like that. Yeah, it stung to watch it, unfortunately, but it was good. Oh, RJ coming in, of course, and defending Chichu. Hey, Chichu was actually good. The faster game just did him in. In the 90s, he would have had more staying power. And yes, it did help that Joe Thornton was Chichu's line mate. All right. More, yes, all the Chichu talk. Absolutely agree with RJ. Good game, bad bounces. The boys are on the right track. And Gio's goal, banging. Yeah, that was a sweet goal. Love the defenseman joining the play, joining the rush like that, being there to take that pass and then have that sweet spot. I thought that was another one where, he was patient and, Thatcher Demko really had to push off strong to get over, and Giordano just kind of outweighted him a little bit so that Demko slid just out of position enough to make that play. Much like how Dunn did on the first goal, he was patient, I think it was JT Miller kind of, slid away from the shot lane, and it opened it up for Dunn to take that shot. Being patient in some of those opportunities, when you have the time and space to be patient, it's almost always worth it, especially if the goalie knows what's going on and is pushing over there. You want to outweigh him, see if you can get him. All right, let's see. Gord could have pulled the trigger a few more times. I agree with that. That was the one thing. There was that one where he decided to make a pass across to Eberle, I think, and it was just a head scratcher. I don't know why he was passing in that situation. He was coming in on, like, if you're looking at Demko in front of you, he was coming in on the left, and he tried to make this cross ice pass through a lot of traffic. Not sure why he did that. He had space in front of him, and he had a good shot on Demko. Probably could have picked his shot, but it's a fast moving game. He obviously thought he saw something and tried to do it. If you need a guy to step up, the most likely candidate is McCann. If he played on almost any roster but Pittsburgh, he's a true top 6 player and goal scorer. That kid can rip it if you let him. Dude, his wrist shot is insane. Seeing that wrist shot tonight, that thing is wild. It's one of those, if you've ever seen the movie Trouble with the Curve, right? The whole like idea that when you're around baseball enough, you can like hear when something's good, right? When the catcher catches a ball, you can hear that it was a good ball or whatever, a good pitch. One of those things in hockey is if someone lets loose a wrist shot and it hits the glass, the boards behind the net, there are times when you just hear that and you know that shot was just elite as far as power and speed goes. And McCann had one of those tonight that was just like, wow. So yes, he can definitely rip it. He has not been shy about shooting so far this season, and it's benefited the Kraken at times. There are times where maybe he shouldn't shoot it and needs to distribute it, but overall, I've liked how he's played. He just, he's struggling in the face-off dot. I definitely see why he's not, playing, first line center anymore. And if I like where he is on the power play, though, kind of playing on that offside, giving himself a little more time and space, kind of halfway between the half boards and playing the point. It seems like he kind of has found a nice spot there on the power play. I like that they actually attacked the offensive blue line up the middle sometimes, generated good chances more than constant dump and chase. Yep, that totally. That had been frustrating those last couple games. They seem to have fixed that through most of the game. Late in the game, that kind of went away. Don't like seeing that. Like, I don't like when things get tough or the pressure's put on that they kind of revert back to that more conservative style. But I think that was, again, one of those big takeaways we can take from tonight that we can look to moving forward. I'm a Penguins fan, but I've been following the Kraken out of curiosity after what I found to be a baffling draft. It's fun to see enthusiastic new hockey fans. I'm used to jaded, spoiled ones. I'll just give us time. We'll get there. It is great to be a part of this energy that, the city of Seattle has for this new team, that really all of hockey has for this new team. The whole community's really embraced it. I think everybody's excited to have a 32nd team in there and just to see it all. I just think everything has been really exciting. We've seen both in these post-game shows and also in the in comment sections from our videos, it's really, helped people get either back into hockey or into hockey in the first place from really all over the world. We got people in Europe that watch us, people in Asia that watch us, that have commented on that. Seattle, it's one of those big urban centers, right? Lots of people have, grew up in Seattle, moved to different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and now are coming around to hockey because of this team. And it's been really, really awesome to see, and really awesome that they've been part of our community here on YouTube, along with all of you guys. Shuffling the D pairs, luckily we drafted plenty of defenders for maximum combinations. Oh yeah, and just wait till Will Borgen gets thrown into that mix. Like, my sister's the good one with the math. She's the geophysics major, so I'm sure she could say how many combinations there are. I definitely can't, but it's a lot, and I hope we don't have to see them all, but it's starting to trend that way. Overall positive assessment from Hackstall and the players about tonight's game. That's what RJ just said. And I think overall there should be, work on some of the stuff that happened late, but I think it was overall pretty good. On the Tuesday, totally agree. As a Mariners fan since 1975, and anyone who is, I'm pretty well conditioned for the long haul. There were more positive takeaways. We're on the right track. Definitely agree there. Thoughts on the double jumbotron might take some getting used to for fans and players. Yeah, I mean, that was one of those things Emily Kaplan brought up between the ice. She was mentioning that the players didn't know which way to look. The guys calling the game mentioned that a couple times, like that idea, we're all trained to look up, look towards the middle. That's where the big screen is. But now, you can, if you're sitting in the middle, you look left or right. I think that's pretty cool, though. It's unique. I'm all for unique things when it comes to stadiums or arenas. I think anything that you can do to kind of make yourself a little different. That's one of the things I like about baseball, is that every ballpark is a little different. There was a time in the 90s where they got away from that. But I do like that. I think it's good. I think, maybe if it gives, everyone a better view of things, I'm all for it. And, everyone will get used to it. That's just all Seattle sports. We have a curse, one of mediocrity, where we're great once in a decade. I don't want to be on any, and someone else, I don't want to be on any train resembling the Mariners. Yeah, Mariners have an interesting history, to say the least. Um, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know that we could say that it's all been bad because as they mentioned in this in the broadcast tonight, everyone knows across all the leagues, you get Seattle fans are super passionate. They're super into things. They always show up for their teams. So um, I definitely don't think we can necessarily say that there's a curse on any Seattle teams just because they are always there for us and we're always there for them. So that is something. But yeah, I mean, you can argue that the hits are a little more spread out than maybe we'd want. Pittsburgh used McCann almost exclusively on the wing. I can't remember him playing much actual center here, but Pittsburgh has unusual center depth, to say the least. Yes, he did play a lot on the wing there. I do think he's, with his kind of shoot first mentality and the shot that he has, just watching him where he's visually more comfortable on the ice, he just looks like he is more comfortable playing the wing. So I'm cool with the Kraken leaving him there for a little while. I wanted to talk smack to the hockey guy so bad if we won this game. Now I just have to be quiet. Yes, I don't watch the hockey guy too frequently just because I don't always have time to. But yes, everybody, you guys have been letting us know that he hasn't had the nicest of things to say. That would have been awesome, especially with the way the team overall rebounded through the vast majority of this game and looked a lot better. I think we could have really all gotten into his comment section, but I guess we're just going to have to be a little bit more patient and put up with a little bit more from him for the time being. I'm tired of the 4-game losing streak we've been having. I don't mind the players. They are competitive. I'm blaming the coaching staff, in particular Hackstall. Time to let him go. I don't know how sarcastic you're being. I do think that there is some blame to be had for Hackstall. Again, the fact that we constantly have new lines, they're ever changing. The fact that we constantly have defensive pairs that are ever changing, that's rough. But, Ray Ferraro did say it. This team has only essentially been together for 3 weeks. There's only been a limited amount of time to instill systems, get everybody to get to know each other, really figure out those lines and defensive pairings. I think if some of those things are still a problem come, January, February, I don't even know that at that point I'd be saying, oh, we got to get rid of the coach mid-season or anything. But I think that's when certainly it would be very, very fair to lay on the criticism for Hackstall. More Kraken than Mariners gear in Seattle. That's what I'm seeing. Well, I mean, Kraken season is happening right now. Mariners season ended a month ago or so. So that just tracks as far as, the time of year. Baseball is not known for being a winter sport after all. Seattle fans need to stick it out. It's a long season. The team needs time to solidify. For sure. It's hockey season. It's like baseball. It's a long season. Basketball, right? 82 game season. One game isn't the end of the world. Even a 4-game losing streak isn't the end of the world, especially early in a season, given the circumstances of this team. Tell him his cat is dumb. Yeah, you can still talk smack to Shannon. Tell him his cat is dumb. Come on. Cats are fine. I mean, I'm a dog person, but RJ's a cat person, so I'll stick up for RJ through here. Thank you, Braun. Thanks for the stream. Hope RJ lets you go to the next one. Yeah, we'll see. He's been handling a lot of that stuff. He knows what's going on. He's got the relationships with everybody. He's been doing a really good job with that stuff. But yeah, that would be kind of cool. And again, thanks for the super chat. We really appreciate that. Been waiting for NHL time in Seattle since the mid 80s. I can wait for them to be good. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, how quick we've gone from, oh my gosh, it's real, it's happening, to, oh my gosh, we're in this 4-game losing skid. Everything needs to change. But that's also what's kind of fun about sports and being in the sports community. You only need to get in the playoffs. That's it. There's no style points, and nobody ever wins the cup in the regular season. 100% agree. We kind of talked about that on our last podcast when I brought up my whole, why do we play 82 games just to then have half the league make a playoffs and have small sample sizes to determine championships? Doesn't always make sense. But that's definitely a whole can of worms I could go, fall down. What do you think of the broadcast coverage? I was disappointed in the pregame coverage. Yeah, so we didn't get to see anything from the pregame. That sucked. They just kind of, skipped. They kind of showed some stuff start to happen, then they pull away, and then we come back for the national anthem and the start of the game. But like, it was obvious that there was going to be more there. They didn't give us anything on that broadcast. We instead had like a 2.5 minute commercial break through most of it. That was definitely disappointing. Definitely going to be a reason though to tune into the podcast this Monday when RJ can fill us in on what happened there. That was the worst outcome in my eyes. I wanted to win or a big blowout to really start a rivalry. Demko was unreal. I mean, it's not the worst outcome. We could have lost 7-0, right? Like, I think that would have, like, if we just got curb stomped in our home opener, that would have been a worse outcome. But, the team had some good stuff. I think Hackstall did improve what the team was allowed and encouraged to do over the past 4 days. I was ready to blame him, but he did make good adjustments for once. 100% agree. I think the team played a lot better. And I do think that, the transition game was a big improvement, and it made a big, big difference as far as them being able to sustain pressures, get the puck out of their zone. And I think that the defensive adjustments they made was better. Vancouver did not have the same quality of chances that we had seen in the Flyers have or the Devils have, the kind of ease at which they could just sit there and pick apart the defense and stuff that didn't exist for Vancouver in this game. So definitely some improvements there. I've seen world beaters fall apart in the first round. I've seen teams that had no business making the playoffs make the finals. Montreal. Yep, exactly. That's hockey. That's the playoffs. Long season, a lot of opportunity. Over half the teams go to the playoffs. So, well, I guess now it's exactly half the teams go to the playoffs because 16 teams go to the playoffs. There are now 32 teams. But yeah, it's a long season. I still think we're gonna get there. It's all gonna be good. Excited for more games and more Yanni Gourde. Plenty of potential. We're getting close. Yep. It's lots of fun reasons to keep watching, and he's definitely one of them. Seattle's on fire, which is bad because the Kraken play primarily on ice. Funny. Yes. It's going, thank God you guys do these, or we'd have to suffer through hockey, according to Stephen A. Smith. Yeah, well, that was actually our primary reason for doing this, actually, was that exactly. So, thanks for acknowledging that. I just wish Hackstall had encouraged some of these changes earlier. It's hard, again, only had this team in front of him for about 2-3 weeks, right, up into some of those games. It's hard. You're just trying to get to know everybody. You're trying to get everything going, and it's a lot of pressure to be the coach in that situation with all those new guys coming in. Your arena isn't even done. You got to start on this road trip. You've got the COVID issue coming in, all that stuff. So I'm willing to cut him some slack. But eventually we do need to see some results, and it looks like we are starting to see that. I watched Gourde crash the net through the slot expecting a pass from the wing, but they just haven't practiced enough yet, and it was a wasted effort. Yeah, but you know what? He's going to, go back to the bench and talk to them about that, and then the next time it will happen. So, while it was maybe a wasted effort in that one instance, I still think overall that's, you still got to do that stuff, and eventually things will, everybody's chemistry and everything will get better. Yanni seemed to be high energy and a great playmaker, but could maybe shoot a tad more, but definitely looks like a huge piece for us, for sure. He's really good. I talked about it already, that one instance where I really thought he should have pulled the trigger and taken the shot. Didn't. That's one of those things with those creative players, though. Sometimes they'll pull something out when they have no business doing it, and they'll make a great play and turn a game on a dime. Sometimes they do something and you're just like, what were you thinking? But, the good ones like Yanni Gourde, more often than not, they're making something happen when they have no business to, doing it, and it works out. So it's, you just got to put up with some of those instances where, you're scratching your head a little bit. Crash the net's never a wasted effort. Totally agree. It's one of those things you just got to do in today's NHL. One thing I liked from the Espen broadcast, though, was the good 1 to 2 minute break and commenting to hear the game atmosphere. Yeah, I think it was called The Rush. I enjoyed that too. That's where we got to see all of their kind of like alternate angles, try to get more of an on ice view, ice level view. That was interesting. Some of those angles are better than others. I liked the behind the net stuff that they did. Like, have we got to see Vince Dunn's goal from that behind the net camera live. I thought that was really cool because you could just totally see it track right into the back of the net. That was really awesome. I'm still unsure about that floating camera on the side though. It's fun, it's cool, especially during like the transitions when one team's taking the puck up the ice, but there are times where if there is a pressure in the other zone and they don't kind of cut away from it, it's a rough angle. It's kind of hard to see certain things, or it's kind of giving you like a it's kind of hard to judge certain things from there. Half the game is making the other team have to adjust to what you're doing, even if it's not paying off every time. Yeah, it's again, hockey's very free flowing. There's just, it's one of those things at some, you can plan a lot, you can plan plays, you can try to make certain things happen. But to some extent it's, you're taking what the defense is giving you, you're trying to exploit what they've got going on, right? All that stuff. And they're trying to do the same to you. So it's one of those things where every shift is to some extent a game within a game. Let's see. Yeah, but a guy like that is going to do it every time, and that's what makes him good to have. You want a guy who is going to work hard every time, even if it's not paying off right now. Yeah, assuming, Dustin, you're talking about Yanni Gourde, 100% agree. I'm good with the netting first goal, sick of fighting from behind. Is that reference to the camera angle? I'm good with netting first goal, sick of fighting from behind. Oh, or as far as... late in the game, just playing from behind. Yeah, it would be nice to have, leads longer than this team has decided to have leads. That's obviously something that needs to be worked on long term. We'll get there eventually, though. But yeah, at some point that's got to turn around. But that's right. Let's see. Oh, watch your Metropolitans mini doc today. Fantastic. I thought I knew that history fairly well and learned some crazy things. Yeah, that whole story and situation is wild. All the stuff that went on, and I tried to cover as much of it as I could. I know there's probably still some more stuff out there, but just everything from that how that team gets put together and comes together, just some of those guys, some of those really unique personalities, from losing your top goal scorer. He eventually ends up in Alcatraz for draft dodging from a country that he isn't even a citizen from, right? Like, that's not exactly something that you plan on happening to your leading goal scorer, but it happened there. And then of course, them winning that cup, and then that 1919 cup that had no winner, only time ever. So lots of fun stuff there. Thanks for bringing that up. Thank you for encouraging everyone to watch both parts of it. That means a lot to me. And that is something I hope that the Kraken bring up when they play Montreal. I think it's Tuesday, just because that's who they played in that 1919 cup that had no winner. I think that would be kind of cool. It's Montreal's first time back in Seattle, kind of. I mean, obviously they played. Actually, it might be Montreal's first time back in Seattle in over 100 years since all that went down. So that would be really, really cool if the Kraken could bring that up. Yes, no cup in 05, but they also didn't play in 05. So it's the only time that there was no cup for a season that actually played. But thank you for pointing that out, because that is true. What do you think about the retiring the number 32? Yeah, I mean, I like anytime teams honor fans, because without fans none of this happens. So I like them retiring the number, acknowledging the fans right from the beginning. You guys are here, you guys are there, and I think that's always a good thing. Yeah, Dustin coming in with that. Yeah, I'm looking at my stuff, seeing if I had any more notes from this game. Yeah, the transition game, that was the big takeaway for me, that it looked a lot better. Yeah, that looks like everything I had. It's crazy Montreal has existed as a team that long. Yeah, man. I mean, it's just like baseball, right? It goes back well over 100 years now. You're talking 1800s for some of these organizations, and it's still going on. It's really wild, but it's really, really cool, and I think it's one of those unique things that is awesome. Yeah, the 32, obviously the 12 from the Seahawks, they've done the same thing. Kind of, I like that, the Seattle teams kind of play off each other like that. I think it's always good when the different organizations in a city can kind of, do that and kind of create almost a cohesive experience from one sport to another for the fan base. I think that's one of those things that kind of helps, it builds goodwill not only between the organizations but just with sports fans in general. And I think it makes you really feel that much more into it, right? As a fan of the city, it's like, these are my teams, they all think alike, I'm part of that. Like, I think that's always a good thing. And yeah, it was good to see that the Seahawks players were there tonight. Seemed weak on faceoffs tonight. Yeah, I talked about that earlier. Faceoffs were an issue tonight. Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's been kind of rough all year. I think there's bigger fish to fry as far as focusing on things before we get to faceoffs, but it's one of those things that is rough. PK was mostly great. Got to give a shout out to PK. PK was excellent tonight. Like I said, I really liked Yarncroke being back, being a part of that. I think he really helped them out. But yeah, it was just that one time, right? And that's sometimes all it takes, unfortunately, in these close, hard-fought games. Wish more cities did what Pittsburgh did, and every team had the same colors. Yeah, I mean that's a good way that they are cohesive, across all the different organizations. It's hard though when the teams, especially like with the Kraken coming in right now, right? You're the 32nd team to join a league. You might not have your pick of color palette, right? If you wanted to try to match the Mariners or the Seahawks a little better, or the Sounders, because unfortunately Vancouver to the north kind of has those colors. So but I think the Kraken did a good job of, it still seems there's some cohesiveness there. Bronze got to take off. Have a great night. You too. Kraken did a real good job shutting down Pedersen for sure. A lot of the big names on Vancouver, they weren't really said a lot. Horvat, of course, had 2 goals. He's pretty good. And Connor Garland, which if you watched our video from yesterday when we talked to Lachlan Irvine, who helps cover the Kraken, he brought up Connor Garland as one of the big off-season acquisitions for this team, and he did show up tonight. Unfortunately for us, he showed up in a big way. But yeah, what did you think of the transitions? Love the transitions. They played with speed. Thought the defensemen were a little more confident as far as moving the puck, breaking out of the zone, all the stuff that kind of we've been talking about. And I think that was all good stuff for them. And again, they entered the zone through the middle sometimes. That's big improvement for them. Definitely excited to see that. Pedersen held pointless, overrated player confirmed. Yes, definitely overrated. I think I went on the record in our division preview a little while ago before the season started, and I said Thatcher Demko was overrated coming into the season. That one hasn't exactly held up too great for me, but there's still time for that take to age better, hopefully. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it. We're an hour into this. It's almost 11 o'clock. I know some of you got kids. Hopefully not too many of you have to work on a Sunday, but it is getting late, so I think we're gonna call it here. And yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. It was a good game. Lots of positives to take away from this game, even though the result wasn't exactly what we wanted, but I thought it was really good. Yeah, we'll close out here with Garland set a record for consecutive games with a point to start a run with the Canucks. Yeah, that's just one of those things. He's on a tear right now. He's doing a good job. Good for the Canucks, I guess. Guys who carry the puck through the neutral zone over the middle are in short supply in the entire NHL, not just the Kraken. It's a weirdly rare skill for anyone. It's an underrated part of Kessel's game. Yes, if you've watched any of our stuff, I'm a huge fan of Phil Kessel. I think he's criminally underrated, and all of his other stuff, gets overshadows his on ice play sometimes. How do we fix the power play? Just shoot more, probably. You know what I mean? To some extent, that's just it. I think that they're deciding to to pass more east-west is going to open things up. That's going to allow them to help draw the penalty killers out a little more, right? Anytime you get the penalty killers and they can kind of collapse in and protect the front of their own net, if you can kind of get them having to chase out, try to be in passing lanes and open that stuff up, you free up your guys in front of the net that can, create the chaos and stuff that ultimately leads to goals. So anytime that you can pass a little bit more across the ice on the power play instead of just sending it straight back to the point, it's a good thing. So that's what I would say for the power play. Can I just say it? I called the intro song was going to be cringe. Was cringe. What was the intro song? I don't know. RJ's gonna have to tell us on the podcast on Monday. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. So thanks everybody for joining me. Next time RJ will be back here with me when we do this, and then look out for that podcast on Monday where RJ can fill us all in on his in-game experience. So thanks everybody. See you next time.